Hey there, YouTube friends, maskedbandit here. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I always do appreciate it. Welcome back to Parkitect. We are working on the theater where we left off last time in the previous episode. Lots of great feedback. People seem to enjoy the idea of a theater, and some people mention it's not something they've seen a lot in Parkitect. I agree, it is not something I've seen a lot in Parkitect either. So I thought it'd be fun to include it here, and it's not meant to be the biggest thing in the world. Just a little something to kind of convey the idea, and I think it ends up looking pretty good. I did a little bit of tweaking before I started recording on the actual building, but for the most part, I was able to get, for once, I was able to get most of my stuff recorded, so hooray for that. Yeah, so I wanted to add some clutter to the stage to make it, actually look like there might be a show of some kind there, like that center fire pit there, who knows? Use your imagination for what you think the show should be, I don't know. So decided to do some lighting, some mood lighting, I guess you would call it, and then on top, so we started adding some stage lights, and I wanted to add some stage lights on top too, really make it look like this was, a production. Well, now that I'm thinking about it, we should probably have a lighting rig in the back somewhere. Maybe we'll add that. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. So, you can see, though, we're adding lots of lights here, which is funny because I don't actually play the game at night very frequently. I do need to go back in and give the whole park a lighting pass. I think that's going to be something we have to do, obviously, before we do any sort of release here, but not that we're anywhere near not that we're anywhere near the end of the road here, not by a long shot, but I do like the way this all turned out. I think it cements the area, and at first I was really unsure of the placement, but what I ended up doing in this episode is I ended up removing the log flume and rebuilding it. Now that the theater is kind of the focal point of this area, it made the flume didn't really feel like it made a lot of sense where it was at. So I went ahead and decided to fix it and redo it and make it better and make it a little more compact. And you'll see that later as well. So here we are shoring up the back of the building. Someone mentioned that there would probably be a backstage area, which I totally agree with. So we go ahead and we will add a little bit of a backstage area there. Put that little piece of path there to make sure that that it would be high enough tall enough for peeps to theoretically walk through, even though we won't actually have that. One of the problems I did have here, since I have this anarchy mod, is that I'm building off the grid. I'm on like a half a grid here, so my paths don't line up, unfortunately, which means making this backstage look decent was a little bit of a trick, a little trickier than originally anticipated. Also, this is not completely symmetrical to the other side like I thought it was, unfortunately. So, what are you going to do, I suppose? But yeah, one of the issues I'm having is I don't want my buildings to look super duper repetitive. Like, everything's got arches, everything has these orange roofs, or red roofs, but I'm not sure how else to deviate. You'll see later on in the episode here, we're going to go ahead and do more of a Mexico look. Like, there's a couple, we use some brighter colors and much more boxy. And there was a reference that I was pulling from when I Googled, like, Mexican architecture. And that was actually back from a Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 project that I looked all that stuff up. And I just kind of pulled it from ye old mind's eye and went in that direction. So here we are. Plopped down a bumper car, squeezed it in this corner real good. And you can see the blue and the red here. That's what I was talking about. So it's a completely covered ride, which, thanks to Parkitect's awesome management system, it will actually be useful when it rains, since the whole thing, queue and ride, are fully covered. It'll be good cover for the peeps when it rains. So I assume, if we were to actually play the game in a management style, when it did rain, I'd assume we'd see people flock to this ride. I'm assuming that's how it works, but so yeah, just I wanted to go a little bit different direction for this corner here to kind of make it look not so repetitive. So I like it. I think it turned out well. I think it looks good in the area. I don't think it's too vastly different. Again, an issue here was making this corner making it look natural, like as far as backstage, front of house, like how to make that look natural. It looks kind of forced. And I think I settled on something that works just fine. I think it's one of those signature Mass Bandit good enough moments. One of the things I found out that's kind of a bummer, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but the cornice pieces do not line up with this particular roof type, which is a bummer. It kind of bums me out. I was thinking that they totally would do that, but they don't. So I wasn't able to use. I wanted to outline the roof lines with cornice, white cornice, and you'll see I do that a little bit, but the actual roofs themselves, I can't get that done. So playing with some colors here, trying to make it look all pretty, trying to make it look like a bunch of different buildings, even though it really would be one giant building. And there you go. Now we've got a nice indoor bumper car ride. I found out, I didn't know this, and I'm sure all of you are going to laugh at me. I didn't know that there were like music selections for your rides. There's a folk track that you can have your rides play, and it is perfect for this area. I think it fits really, really nicely. So we have some nice folk jams as you're walking through this area. The Wild West was, I think it's a little too typical, so we'll use that actually in another area. We'll have a much more clearly Wild West area. Might be attached to this one, actually. We might transition into the, we'll call it the Hill Country. We'll call it Hill Country, and that'll be more cowboys and cattle and Wild West. So that's how that'll be. So yeah, you can see here adding some more details, making it all look spiffy. Had a sneaky wall there, that's why those paths wouldn't connect. So, but that's okay. As I've been playing this more and more frequently, I've been getting much better with the hotkeys, and progress has picked up even more. So one of the things I really do enjoy about playing Parkitect compared to something like Planet Coaster, and I know a bunch of people talk about it, is the amount I can get done in an episode. Like, it's so refreshing to play for like an hour and be like, look at all I did, as opposed to like on a Planet Coaster, you play for an hour and just like, that's all I did. So that's kind of why I've been playing Parkitect a lot more. My time is a little bit more limited lately. And so when I only have a bit of a time to jump in and play, and not to mention the inspiration for Planet Coaster is currently not there, and Azuri Gardens is still, as the time of this recording, in the hands of Silverette, there's not much Planet Coaster for me to do, like, other than Azuri. So, obviously there are, but I don't feel like doing them. So Parkitect here, it's been a nice little chill play for an hour, get stuff done, and I like that. So, felt we needed some more trees. I like how thick the foliage is here, how lush it all is. I like that a lot of the paths seem to be obscured by trees. Figured good natural shade and all that. I think that's important in a park. One of the things that there are some parts of Six Flags Fiesta Texas, when I was there last summer, that are just completely void of shade. And oh, it's brutal. It gets so hot. I think I went on one of the hottest days of the year last year, and it was intense. So I guess I'm sort of conscious of that as I'm building this area, since this park is kind of turning into an homage to the two Six Flags parks here. Just making sure there's ample shade on these hot days. So also really got into the cactus and the succulents here. Trying to do some different things to try and give off these unique themes that we don't necessarily have in the game. Like, we don't have a Southwest theme, but the cactus and all that, I think, really does a good job in making it feel like a new theme without being too kitsch, I guess. So here we are. We ripped out the Flume, and we're building a new one. And I actually started with the drop this time, which I think was a better idea. Like, where do I want the drop to be? I want the drop to face this direction, and we'll build from there. I also, in this version, extended the turntable to make it a little bit wider, to make it a little bit more realistic, because all those turntable loading stations, you load from the center. And if I use the smallest version, you can't. If I use the smallest turns, you can't do that. So here I was scoping out all the default pre-built ones, and I realized just how spread mine was. So I tried a little. I'm like, all right, we're gonna do this better. We're gonna do better. And then, you know how I said that I was glad I started with the drop? Yeah, apparently I said screw that and didn't this time. So we went with this direction, and actually the drop ends up the same direction, but it just feels so much better. Like, this was never supposed to be like a high budget Splash Mountain. Like, I think there's like 2 ways you can go with these. You can go with the high budget meandering built into the actual terrain, or make it look like it's actually built in the terrain. Or you can go this route, which is the much more just basic, like you're gonna see all the supports and all that. So I went with this route, and I think it looks pretty good. Didn't like the way the paths were headed in this direction, so I think I'd get rid of this. I don't like that at all. And then I thought about it, I was like, wait, you wouldn't load that way, I don't think. I think you'd load from the other direction, so we went with that, and it looks a lot better, I think, and it gives a little bit of cover for the it gives a little bit of bridges we can work on to increase the look of it a bit. So yeah, I don't know if I don't remember if in the last episode you actually saw me build the cover to this ride, but you're gonna see it this time, and maybe it's a repeat, but if it is, apologies. But same basic idea. The hardest part is without a good selection of diagonal roof pieces, we have to kind of make do with what we have. So I went with this route with flat pieces with the raised center, and I think that looks pretty okay. At the end of the day, I had to raise it all up because it needs to be tall enough for the peeps to walk through. So we threw that doorway down first in an effort to actually make it look like it could actually house some things. Then the struggle became that it was so high off the ground when I put the pillars in originally, when I put the beams in first, as we're about to do here. It's so tall. It's insane. So you can see I can't decide what I want. What do I want for my roof? So I start working on the pillars, and you can see they're so tall. I was like, oh no, this is gonna look so dumb. But I kept pushing forward, and as we progressed, it started looking less and less goofy. And I think by the end, it actually looks pretty good. So hopefully you will. Hopefully you'll agree with those sentiments. Hopefully you'll think it looks pretty good. I mean, I do. What do I know though? I just build. Anyway, I went ahead and I kind of fudged it. I kind of made it so that you can see I kind of did it so that you have there the covers are going to kind of go into the flume a little bit. Like you can still see the water, but you can see there. I think that looks better. It's one of those things I'm just kind of willing to do, I guess, because I feel like it needs it. So I'm okay with that. Hopefully you don't think it looks atrocious. I don't think it looks atrocious. I think it looks okay. So anyway, other than that, that's pretty much all there is for the rest of this episode. That's not true. Once we're done with this, I do believe we start doing some work on the surrounding area, making it look not sucky. So hopefully we make it look not sucky. Can you tell I'm just kind of vamping here? So I don't know why I paused here. I must have walked away for something. I think there was a moment where I walked away, so oopsies. But yeah, you can see here that once we start putting in these walls and all this, it stops looking so stilty. I think that's the best way to say it, is stilty. Putting in these cross beams, all these things to kind of make it look like it's not just elevated in the air by a ton. And I think once that's all in there, I felt much better about the direction it was headed. And I actually think I kind of like this, not having the flat diagonal roofs on there. I think this actually looks better in the end. So a little bit of clutter, a little bit of stuff to kind of give it some more idea of a theme. So we got that cooking. And then we start adding some bushes. So we're going to start doing some bushes there and other foliage. And also, I'm not sure if I got this recorded or not. Yeah, I think I do. What I'm going to end up doing is actually making a pool for the splashdown. I figured that would be important for this ride. Taking this trick from $2.20, those big trees, sinking them into the ground and making bushes out of them. That was an awesome idea. That was an awesome idea that he did. And so I went ahead and stole that from him. And here we are working on the splashdown pool. I think it looks pretty good. One of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to make it look like it was probably man-made and treated. So that's why you will see that we don't actually put any plant life in it. We have rocks. We could say these are fake rocks. And all the bushes and plants are actually behind the water line. So that's intentional because I didn't put any lilies in or anything because if you're splashing down on that water, that's probably treated, clean, water, and plants probably aren't going to be living in there. So that's why I did that. And then it's just a matter of hooking everything else up and continuing onwards with the details. So this little back area here that I'm closing off, I don't think it's going to be much of anything. In this episode, I just go ahead and put a bunch of trees. When in doubt, spam the trees, make it all foresty. I think that looks pretty nice. Tonight, hopefully you can also start to see how this area is coming together. You get this nice little walk by of the splashdown pool here, get a good view of the drop. I think it's all coming together. I am so glad that I redid the Flume ride. I think it looks way better. So, and the last thing in this episode I think we're going to get to is a bit of backstage work. As you can see, I kind of am jumping all over the place now. So, got a little bit of backstage work there. Try to squeeze this ride in. I'm not, it gets removed and replaced and removed and replaced a few times, and probably off camera as well. The problem I'm having is making sure that it don't hit anything. It's a pretty big footprint, and it needs even more space on either side. So it's kind of hard to put it right there, the swing ride. So I think I landed on something that's a little bit better, and you'll see that for the next episode. But, I think it's all right. So with all that being said, here's some cinematics for you. And I hope you've enjoyed. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you're new, consider subscribing so you don't miss anything we do. With all that being said, have yourself a great day, great night, great whatever. And I will see all you for the next episode of Parkitect. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.